The wall clock's a little slow. Anyway, it's 9 o'clock. So first of all, please stand for the invocation. Pastor Tennant. Morning.
Let's bow our heads and our hearts this morning. Lord God, today I want to thank you for the privilege here that we just take a few moments to honor you, to recognize you. And I want to remind everybody here today that their lives are meant for purpose, that you created us, individuals, with liberty and choice. And I want to thank you today for each person here today and remind them they are deeply loved. And you have shown us that love through the cross of Jesus Christ. And I thank you today. I thank you today that people will bring purpose and individuality to this meeting, and wisdom will abound. And grace and mercy will find its way deeper into our heart. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Looks like everybody's marked themselves present. Roll call's been taken. All members are here. Next up, communications and announcements. Does anybody on the board have any communications or announcements? I have one quick one, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. A supervisor asking what the county is doing about SNAP, the funding being cut. Well, other than the resolutions that we've already passed to send to the state legislature, as far as I know, we're not doing anything. But if anybody's got any suggestions, let me know. Supervisor also suggested that maybe we get have a question and answer session with the state legislators. I guess think about it. If you think that's a good idea, let me know. We could look into that. Does anybody else have any comment regarding that right now? Okay, Mr. Trimner.
Yeah, just a quick communications. We received this message. One of our supervisors, it's Michelle, obviously their name. Just be aware that if you get a text message, I think there's 2 people. I don't know if there are 3 people. Your contact information is public on our website, so you may get their phishing. So this is an example of what came through. It says it's from Brian, chairperson at County of Price, but this was a text message. So just be aware. We did let IT know there's not a lot they can do because our numbers are public and it's what you're going to get. But just, call Brian if you get a text, or any one of each other. So multiple people did, but just to be aware.
It says it was originated from outside the Price County system.
This is a text message. We also get emails all the time, but yeah. So this one was from a 3.
That wasn't me.
You sure?
Yep.
So I just wanted to make people aware.
Any other supervisors have any communication?
I got one.
Mr. Hastings.
I was not at the last meeting and I listened to it, and I got a question from constituents how they were wondering how Nick's review got taken off of the agenda, and which gave him another contract fulfilled without a review.
I'll let you take that, Nick, because
Sure. So the review was completed and I don't have another contract. I still have the same contract in place. My contract did finish the 5 years last year and then automatically renewed for 1 year. By December 31st, the board, executive has to decide whether or not they want to renew that, get rid of it as of July 1st, or what they want to do to move forward. As far as the review, though, it was completed at executive. It was brought to the board, but it's executive that does the original review. So it's in my file, it's done, it's signed by both
So
the county and
the contract wasn't up for renewal. It was just a review that we were talking about.
it had nothing to do with my
The
contract.
review was done by executive and talked about it at executive. And if I recall correctly, I offered to share the review copy of it to anybody that wanted it.
Okay.
Mr. Kopish.
Was that review brought to the board? I thought it
Well,
was.
it was not distributed to the board, but
Oh, but you discussed it at the board meeting because the board has to approve it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We discussed it and
Okay.
I offered a copy. In fact, I got 13
Yeah, that's
copies.
what I thought. Because I had to leave that day because I had another engagement.
Yeah.
But I know you had it on the agenda for review.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
The county agenda or the executive agenda?
The board did have a closed session and review it. It was 2 times ago, I believe now. I would have to.
I'd have to look, but yeah,
3. Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, public comment. The first one to sign up was Mr. Mattson. He did talk to me and he said he has a non-agenda item he wants to talk or needs to talk a little more than 2 minutes. Being that he's a previous supervisor, as a courtesy, I say it's okay for him to do 3 minutes. If anybody has any objection, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to give him 3 minutes. Okay, Walt.
My name is Waldemar Madsen. My name is Waldemar Madsen, District 11. So first thing I want to say is I actually do know families that lost their SNAP benefits in this community. So if anybody wants that info, I'll give it to you. Secondly, when we were saying that Pledge of Allegiance, the last part of it is liberty and justice for all. Well, right now we have a man sitting in our jail that was assaulted when he took his child that he had 100% legal right to take. He went to his house after learning that his ex had relapsed on methamphetamines. So he went to get his child. And when he went to get his child, he walked in and grandma was in there. She tried to forcefully not allow him to take his child. Under the state statute, that's kidnapping, when you forcibly try to keep a custodial parent from taking their child. She assaulted him multiple times. She kicked him. He has bruises. He has scratches across his hands. I saw when I went to visit him. I feel like there is very frivolous investigations going on into these cases in the county. And I've had enough. This department is allowing deputies like Deputy Taylor Drake to do investigations when he wrote an investigation on me, arresting me for cursing. That case was dropped. This man, like I said, this man had 100% right to the court order that allowed him to take his child, 50-50 everything. He's on the lease to his own house, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't the grandmother's house. So when he went there to get his child, he was assaulted. And yes, he pushed her to the ground. But in the state of Wisconsin, we have a fundamental right when we are in our own homes to defend ourselves. And it is not gender biased. I think there is gender bias in this case. They refused to investigate the kidnapping. They refused to investigate the entrapment because she would not allow him out of his own house. They refused to investigate her at all. They're treating him as a woman beater because he took her off of him. I think that this is a great injustice to people in our community, and this behavior has to stop today. And I hope that you guys would do an internal investigation into this behavior, and I hope that it stops. Like I said, the last part of our Pledge of Allegiance is liberty and justice for all. He got $1,000 signature bond yesterday up in the court, and he is still sitting in jail. He is not released. Probation is holding him because, and I talked to the probation supervisor this morning out in my truck, and he said to me, and he was very gender biased. His name is Jeff. He works down in Taylor County. He said because she was a 62-year-old woman that he had no right to took her off of him. That is wrong. I will never say that a man should hit a woman out of anger. But when you have to defend yourself and your children,
Thank you, Walt. That's
gender
fine.
has no merit. Thank you.
Thank you. We had one other person sign up, Shirley Smith. Looks like the topic is non-agenda. 2 minutes, please.
Okay. Mike still on?
Yeah.
Okay, Shirley Smith, Phillips, Wisconsin. I want to talk more about the invocation. Several county board meetings ago, I urged a return to having the invocation given by a variety of clergy or give up the practice altogether. I also said that I pray every day to be delivered from the evil of Christian nationalism. It is odd that my public comments at that meeting prompted a response at the next meeting from people who were not in attendance at the time. Before the meeting, last month's meeting, Ginny Strobel, my friend, coworker, and former county board member, handed me a pocket constitution with a note attached. Show me where separation of church and state is noted, is in here. Those words aren't in the Constitution. They were written by Thomas Jefferson, explaining his view of the First Amendment, which has been generally accepted for hundreds of years. A check of the publisher of this booklet reveals that Wall Builders, LLC, presents a revisionist interpretation of American history from an organization that opposes the separation of church and state. They would make George Orwell, 1984, proud of changing how people use words. After the meeting, board member Jason Hastings, who wasn't there when I spoke, handed me several pages going into a long explanation of his beliefs about God and government. He also declared that Christian nationalism is a new term created by the devil. I decided to check what some neighboring counties do. Iron, Sawyer, and Lincoln counties have no invocation. Ashland has a moment of silence. Rusk has a moment of silence and an invocation given by different clergy at different meetings. There is a difference between being invited to pray and being ordered to pray by a government official, however politely, in this case, the county board chair. For some people, it may be an order that they don't mind obeying. For others like me, there is an element of coercion, peer pressure to at least obediently pretend to join in the prayer. This
Thank
is my,
you, Shirley. That's time.
okay, all right.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. That's it for people that signed up. Oh, yes. Anybody online have any public comments? *6 to unmute. Seeing and hearing no action, we'll move on to presentations. I'm sorry, Mr. Palchek.
We have our chief deputy here and our investigator. Would it be, I know it's out of the norm to speak on public comment, but I personally, as chair of the law enforcement committee, would like to hear if they have anything to say on the issue that Mr. Matson was talking about.
Larry, use your microphone. Please.
I know this is out of the norm to have a rebuttal for public comment, but we have our chief deputy and our investigator here, and I would, as chair of the law enforcement committee, I would like to hear if they have anything to say.
Well, it's our meeting and we can have him speak if we so choose. I'm okay with it. Is there any objection? Mr. Kopish.
Yeah, I don't think we should be getting into that back and forth on public comment. We're not supposed to discuss it. And I don't even know if what Mr. Madsen proposed was even something we can do. So I guess I wouldn't want to get into it. Thank
Okay.
you.
He proposed that we
Correct.
have an internal investigation into the sheriff's department and their handling of prisoners.
Mr. Braca?
I would agree with Mr. Kopish that public comment is public comment. It's not a debate session. I think we duly take note of his concerns and we bring that to law enforcement to discuss at law enforcement. This is not the place.
Anybody else?
Which is why I gave Shirley Smith a letter outside of public comment.
I'm sorry, what?
Which is why I
Oh.
gave Shirley Smith a letter outside of public comment.
Okay. Well, hearing that, I will agree with those that have spoken, and I'll ask Mr. Polachek to bring it up at the next law enforcement committee, if he so chooses.
If someone asks to have it on the agenda, I certainly will do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, now we'll move on to employee recognitions. Laura?
Yeah. Good morning. We have 5 employees that we are recognizing for milestone anniversaries today. First up, we've got our 1-year anniversary. Oh, or 5 years. I don't know. I guess 5 years is up. Let's go with that one. Oh, 1 year. Okay. So back to 1 year. All right. Well, I don't know. All right. So celebrating 1 year with Price County. We are very excited. And I'd like to welcome anyone who is here for the employees. There's a few to stand as they're announced. We have Dawn Griesel, who celebrates on November 11th. She is our Aging and Disability Unit Supervisor. We have Drew Hauschild, also celebrating on November 11th, who is a highway operator. Michael Stoiber, celebrating on November 18th, also a highway operator, and Kay Erickson, who is our nutrition site manager for Ogama, and she will celebrate December 2nd. Moving on, we also have a 5-year that we're celebrating. Sarah Dunbar is our Deputy Register of Deeds, and she will celebrate on November 9th. So let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you all employees for your hard work and dedication. Next item, approval of the minutes from September 16th, 2025. Looking for a motion made by Hodek, second by Drobnek. Any discussion regarding the minutes?
I need to share.
Sorry for the lull. We're working on a computer right now. We'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll just do a voice vote.
Oh, it's still on your computer.
Got it.
Okay, there we go. Okay, hearing no discussion regarding the minutes, go ahead and vote.
And the approval of the minutes passed by 13 yes, 0 no.
Okay, moving on. We have 1 resolution today. Resolution is amending supervisor district boundaries to reflect annexations. A resolution amending the county supervisor district map for districts 8 and 11 to reflect annexation by the town of Elk. Whereas the Price County Board of Supervisors adopted the current supervisory district boundaries in November of 2021 via ordinance 2021-01. And whereas the town of Elk annexed a portion of the city of Phillips on December 11th, 2024, and recorded it with Price County Register of Deeds on June 26, 2025, and so on. The bulk of the whereases that have to do with state statute and why we have to do this the way we're doing it. Now therefore be it resolved, the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby amends the supervisory district maps to transfer the following real property from Supervisor District 11 to Supervisor District 8. And then you have it in your packet. You can see what the verbiage is after that. Be it further resolved that the County Board Supervisor District Map amendments be placed on file in the Price County Land Conservation Office, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, the Legislative, Technology Services Bureau, and the Wisconsin Department Administration. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective after passage and publication as provided by law. So we have a motion by Barstrom, second by Hallstrand. Any discussion? Meredith, you want to comment on this at all?
This is a lot of paperwork for 3 people.
Yes, it is. And time.
And time, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question. The
Yes.
state statutes changed. That's why we're doing this?
No, we're following state statute as to changing the boundary of the supervisory districts from 11 to 8 or 11 and 8, because when they were in the city of Phillips, they were, I believe it was 8, and now they're going to be in District 11 or vice. No, I think it's the opposite. Anyway, there's three people in these on these properties. So this is the statute. We're following the statute to, rather than have a whole new district for 3 people, for just.
Didn't part of this change, wasn't it changed so that people could hunt on their land? And like,
That
isn't
might be the
part- isn't
reasoning
that
why
part
it
of it,
was.
I think.
And
Sorry,
it's-
like somebody wanted to hunt their land it's off of Storm Road, correct? Yeah, so they they had 40 acres of land, but they couldn't hunt it because it was technically in the city of Phillips. So they're annexing it to the town of Elk, is my understanding. So
Yes.
now they can use their land to be able to hunt, where technically they couldn't hunt it because it was in the city of Phillips with rifle.
Isn't that
So,
the Muskowski?
That's the reasoning behind this annexation,
Yeah.
at least
So,
the way we
I mean,
understand it. But
it's,
we
like I said, it's a whole lot of paperwork for 3 people.
What
don't
happened
really
on
have
the-
anything to do with the process of annexation in this case. We're just making it official as far as what supervisory district these people.
Yeah, I
are.
understand that what happened, that it was improperly placed into the wrong parcel.
I don't think, it's been that way for a long time.
City drew their boundary,
Okay.
and these people don't.
So years ago, this was placed within the city limits, this parcel right here. There's the line for the city limits. And these people don't have city water, sewer, or anything, but their taxes being in the city, and consequently, they can't utilize their land for being kind of out in the country to do the things they want. So they said they don't want to be part of the city, they'd rather be part of the township.
Yep, I
So
understand.
what the forefathers were thinking, expansion, who knows what they were thinking years ago.
Any further discussion? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle.
I don't know. I use the button on the computer like I'm supposed to.
Well,
So,
I'm sorry, I
um,
didn't see your hand up on the computer.
I know. It's hard. It's little flashy number 1. Anyway, so obviously if we pass this, are there new maps going to be distributed? Like, is there an I know what this shows the map for the area that's concerned, but are we going to have maps updated and actually that I can understand?
I can talk to them.
Go ahead.
Okay, yes, there's a process. So after, if and when this passes, it'll go to the state. I believe it's the Secretary of State, or what we read in the resolution. Then they distribute it to WHC so that voting is correct for the correct township, for the correct parcels and people. And that's the issue we had. People were annexed to one town, but were recognized in the city. But yes, it will be updated in GIS, and that's why I attached maps to this. And it'll also be the legal description is in the resolution, so that is attached, and that'll go to the state, and that'll go to GIS, and that'll be all documented. So
Bottom line, once it goes through all the process, the maps will be updated for you to be able to understand. Mr.
Right.
Hastings.
I understand all this and I understand the reasoning behind it, but what if we said no?
Well, it says here, whereas if not approved, a new voting ward would have to be created
Okay.
and the ballots printed for a ward that has a population of 3.
Yeah, either way, the annexation, we don't have any control over as far
No, we
as
don't.
between the city and the town of Elk.
Ours is more dealing with it.
Gotcha.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote.
I could have just told her, but I'm.
No, that's good.
So people could hear that, in case they have the city clock on.
Paul, I just need yours. Your vote didn't go through.
You do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And resolution 32-25 passes 13 yes, 0 no for amending supervisory district boundaries to reflect annexations. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Moving to committee of the whole, board chair report. Well, first thing I did was to talk about is I went to the WCA conference and the annual business meeting. The business meeting basically was to adopt and pass resolutions that various counties submitted and are going to be sent to the state legislators for advisement. I attended various sessions at the conference, county leadership development, the issues on Northwoods. That's getting to be a big one. The issue talked about extensively was the aging population in the Northwoods communities. A couple other ones were foundations of county board government, solid rules, and road maintenance and transportation fund. There was another one, basically it was kind of entertaining. It was weird happenings at county board meetings where other supervisors got up and told about weird things that happened at meetings. Actually, Paula brought one up. We'll just leave it at that. I've been working with the administrator on various issues like usual. So, when I was at the conference, I talked with Buck Tussle regarding their, I guess, lack of building anything yet, and they said they're going to do it. They're not in trouble. They're just behind. I told them I was going to hold them to it, whatever that means. And then the only other thing I've been trying to attend is as many committee meetings as I can. Any questions? Mr. Hallstrand.
So I'd like to just interject on your population thing. Northwest Regional Planning just put out their comprehensive plan, and it has, you can go to their website, you can look at it rather than me try and print a copy of this book. But it's really, depending on what side of the fence you stand on, if you would like to see population decrease in Price County, then you'd be really happy looking at these numbers. But if you'd like to see growth and expansion, our 55 or 50 year and older, they got a chart that goes down like this, and we balloon at the bottom, and it's really skinny at the top for our replacements. So over the course of the next 20 years, Price County loses 3,000 or 4,000 people in its population based on their projections. And these are important numbers when it comes to school districts and all these referendums passing to build new schools. And if we don't have any children, something's going to have to happen. But if you go to Northwest Regional Planning and look at their comprehensive plan, it's a 100-page book. So, but it's got a lot of really interesting statistics about housing and it's scary. Price County was, between now and 2040, we have a 28% decrease in population. And basically what that's saying is we're all not going to, well, maybe Bob will be here, but the rest of us aren't. Michelle, I'll give Michelle the benefit of the doubt, but most of us aren't going to reach 100 years old. So
I'm literally the youngest one in the room. Come on, Jeff.
all right. All right. But anyways,
Jason's not far ahead.
It's really good information out there, but it's scary but it's reality. I mean, when Crystal tells you it comes from the state and they do a lot of background when they put these numbers together, and the facts are the facts. I mean, we all know that families aren't having 6 kids anymore, very rarely. And that's what Price County used to be, big farms and lots of kids. But anyway,
Just a quick
good
comment
information.
on the population thing. The only thing I hesitate, like when we talk about those, there's this big bubble. the issue that we always leave out is the bubble doesn't just keep moving down and pass away and nothing happens. People move in, right? So that's a big push right now at the state level is how do we get transplants or out of state people or people to stay and come here? And that's where your bubble is always going to, float in that area, because as those people age out, you're going to bring in the 40-year-old to do their jobs. There's still jobs here. There's still housing here. It's just, you're not having the young ones replace and stay. You're looking for somebody from Wausau to say, I'd rather be in a rural area, somebody from Eau Claire, wherever it's not like the bubble just moves and 4,000 people disappear. There's still the housing, they're still available. The problem is we're not growing, like you said, the other way, where we have more housing, we have more jobs, which would make the bubble expand on the top half instead of the bottom half.
Mr. Hastings. Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Mr. Kopish.
Yeah, just to add to this conversation, from my perspective, watching what goes on the lake up there with people passing away or whatever, there's people buying the homes that are planning on retirement, and they may do a short-term rental or something for a few years or whatever, and then they plan on moving up here. So I think we might have old people replaced by old people.
Yeah, that's right. What I'm saying.
So I don't know that the population is going to drop like a rock. I think it's going to fill in, but with a different kind of person.
Yeah, and we always relate it to taxes, right? I mean, but if that house doesn't go away, so the taxes are still being paid by it. So if you have less population, the property is what's generating the tax, the revenue. So this goes back to Alan talks about is like, if you do per capita, our capita might slowly go away, but the property's still there. So that's where you have to be careful on what number you divide by what. The property's not going away. The person that was living there is, which we want them to live there because then they're paying sales tax, they're doing things at our schools, they're doing everything, but you're seeing more of what's happening at the lakes where they own it, they pay the taxes, they come and enjoy, which is still the sales tax, or they rent it out. However, every time you lose population, you don't put the burden on someone else in all areas because the property is still there.
Well, to just add to Mr. Kopish's comment, the demographics are changing. We're not necessarily losing population. It's the age of the population. But that, like Mr. Hallstrand said, that affects your school base because there's no kids. They're going to get less reimbursement from various government agencies. That's a big problem. Something's going to have to change, or the schools are going to have to downsize. That's probably a pretty simplistic way of saying it, but pretty complicated. Anybody else have anything to add? If not,
From the convention?
sure. Well, just sure. Go ahead. You were there. As an addendum to my chair report. Sure.
All right.
This is a good time to do it.
Is that okay? Because I know, and I saw all of you walking around that were there. I found it really interesting that they had several or a couple workshops regarding on the topic of AI, which was really, it's just an issue that's kind of, when it comes to like what your text was,
Yep.
those kinds of things do make you a little nervous about how you're handling all that.
It's alleged text.
Alleged text. Thank you. Thank you. It was a
Okay.
text, but it was alleged.
Allegedly mine.
Allegedly. We had our own TJ Padmalik was there with his group. And unfortunately, it was at the same time that Nick was running a session, which I understand blew out all the population of the whole convention, and I'm sorry, I wasn't there. How do you get both of those? So I hope somebody else saw that one. It's just real good. We really do have a great person in our IT area. I mean, he does a great job. He and his team also did a wonderful job explaining things to a lot of us. And there are people that are just very from different counties that are just like, we don't want anything to do with all that and stuff. And, really there's nothing we can do. You can stick your head in the ground and say it's not going to happen, but it's going to happen. So I think the best way is how we handle it and how we go with it. And I know, Nick, you yourself use AI a lot for your your correspondence and stuff.
One of TJ's so TJ and I both presented at WCA, but during TJ's presentation, TJ and I have been working on a succession plan for TJ. And one of those things that we're working on is you can create an AI bot that is someone. So we are taking all of TJ's knowledge and creating an AI based on our systems, right? So how we run, we have several servers, like they're not, I won't talk detail because that's bad stuff to talk about, but we have all these different servers. We have all these different contractors. We have all these different scenarios we're always working on and going through. So we're using AI to make a TJ. So when he's ready to retire, the next person can either learn from them or use them as like a whole nother person. So, hey, this server's down. What's going on? You go to that bot and say, this is what's happening. It looks at all TJ's knowledge that we've built, whether it's emails or contacts or manuals or all the scenarios, and it'll say, here's what we recommend based on what you've done in the past, what the issue has been, and it'll get you to that fixing that server. So that's part of his was part of his presentation is how we're looking at succession for our IT, knowing it's going to be very, very, very difficult to replace a TJ because of his knowledge, his skill set, and we're in northern Wisconsin. I mean, he is a asset to this county that I don't think people really understand.
And actually, I think that could actually be something that every business, every school district, every church or anything, that if you've had someone there with this great amount of knowledge, when they walk out the door, it's gone unless they're willing to come in and, help somebody with that. But I think that's great. It was a good presentation. Like I said, they did a nice job. I think it's wonderful that the county encourages us to go to these programs, these conventions. You get to talk to other people. Sometimes you think you're not doing the right thing, or maybe it's questionable how we run the county and help that. But I think we're really doing well from where I hear from other conversations with other counties. So I would always encourage anybody that can go to these workshops, these conferences. It's not just the idea of just going there and going to the workshops. It's also walking around the vendors, and you talk with them, and you talk with the people that are milling around in those areas too. If you can do it, please make sure. I think it just makes you a better county board member.
Well, I agree that networking is at least important, maybe more important than the actual presentations that are put on.
I agree. I do.
I apologize, I didn't go to yours, but I see you every day.
I know.
Fund balance, if anybody cares.
Mr. Kopish, you were there. Do you have any comments?
The first day was kind of a busy day, and there was one time slot where they had like 3 things I wanted to go to, and I could only go to one. So I was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
So I think the stuff I went to was worthwhile. But like Paula said, one of the nice things you get to do is network with people that you don't see much. And I was able to connect with a few people that were on the Counties Association board that I hadn't seen in a while. Lance Blemmel and is from Wood County, and Dave Frelling from Dodge County, and Willie Johnson Jr. from Milwaukee. Just people that you meet and you get to talk about stuff. Sat at a table with a bunch of people from Washington County and heard some different perspective. And I agree with Paula. I think as a county, we're doing very well in relationship to some of the stuff I hear going on at some of these other counties. Russ County's got more issues than you would imagine, and I'm not sure why that is, but I hear a lot about Russ County. So it was worthwhile. I was a little disappointed to one extent, though. I think the conference was more like a pep rally with too much hoorah-rahs and all that kind of stuff. I'm not into
theme.
that. Maybe it's my age, but
You're talking to general sessions.
General sessions, and then even at the reception there, the guy was there doing something, and it's just I don't need that.
But Mr. Kopish, it was part of the theme. It was part of the
I
sports and all that.
I know, but it was just more than
If I could, one more, I don't mean to belabor the fact. You talked about a session I was in. I'm not going to talk about that. It's just that the title of that one was called Hold My Beer. It's weird and wacky. Now, I mean, that just kind of makes you go, what the heck is this all about? And it was a really good one, because what it is, so let's just say you're in a conversation with people and something comes up in your mind and you'll say, hold my beer, I got to tell you about this. So it teetered on unethical activities. It teetered on sticky wicket kind of options. And then people would get up and just speak of something about what happened in their county board or what's going on in their county. And some of them were just enough to make you go, I mean, there were many gasps in the audience. It was like, what did you do? So that's where Andy Phillips came in. He's with the Tolless Law, and he's always on our Monday mornings. And he would come back with, okay, this is how you would handle these things. And these are the things that need policy. So that was the whole idea. It wasn't something to just blow off your county about what happened. It was a way of how you can handle that as well. It was a good one. But then to your you-rah-rah, the ending of our conference was amazing. And you all have an option and that ability to go to the WCA website and go onto the conference and zip down to the very bottom. And talks about, they brought in this, I just get chills because it was just a great, great program. If you've ever seen the movie A League of Their Own about the female baseball team, this was amazing because they brought in 4 women who were in their ages of upper 80s and early 90s who played baseball. And the testimonies they had, it was just so well done. They had photos of them, and it's all on this YouTube site. Grab yourself a nice drink, put it down, put it up on your TV, and just watch it. It's really good. What those women had to go through to make it in the world of baseball was impressive.
Yes.
The one thing I really do enjoy, though, is when Mark O'Connell sits down and has his one-on-one. He had another one with the governor, and I thought that was fantastic. The conversation, just very impromptu, very informal. And then he had, Gilbert Brown?
Gilbert Brown.
A football
Brown,
player.
yeah.
He talked to him. It was
That was good.
It was really, really good. Yeah, I always enjoy that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then. County Administrator Report. A, 2025 Financial Summary and Updates.
No, yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
We don't need the computers anymore.
Yeah, don't we need to vote on the budget?
Oh, yeah.
The one thing after your
You can vote on
letter
that.
B.
All right, since I'll keep it short since somebody took all my time there, Paula.
Not to drop any names, but
First page is just where we're at for the year. We're at 75% of the year. Nothing jumping out besides what we've talked about quite a bit in the sheriff's and jail office. Again, with people being out, we've had some major investigations. We've had stuff going on. That's where that comes from. We're also always about a half a year behind on the union contract wages, and we're always trying to catch up. So that's another reason we're over there. Forestry is doing well. They've got, I think, 4 to 6 active sales. We'll see their chart coming up. But in general, nothing has jumped out at Carrie or myself when we look at the budget for the general fund. You go to Health and Human Services, we have a couple high-cost placements. We had 2 very high-cost placements. And then one of those high-cost placements is ending because they relocated. The other one's going to a lower cost, so about half of that high cost, but we've gained another high-cost placement. So we still have 1.5 instead of 2, so we're down a half. Between the 3 individuals, if they were to stay on, we're looking at $500,000 a year. So it's not avoidable. We do all the programming we can to avoid it, but it gets to the point where it's just court ordered. We do have one public health issue we're working through right now. I do believe it'll be quite expensive, but it's a home that may be condemned based on conditions. So between law enforcement, myself, and public health, and our public health officer or our environmental health officer, which is out of zoning, we're working through our options to see what we can do with that. It did also involve multiple animals, dog, and I think multiple cats. But it sounds like the cats have been surrendered potentially, so that's a positive. We don't have that same situation where we had a case where we had to maintain the cats for a long time. That's where I see this area going over.
Can I ask a quick question on that? I understand, the animals that are abandoned or whatever.
Yep.
That's the county's responsibility, but why is, I guess, raising the house or dealing with the house the county's responsibility? Because like, I know Park Falls has houses they raise, but that's the city's problem.
Yeah, and I don't know if public health, we could probably go into a closed session to look at it, but when looking at the home, there's a extreme difference between like, oh, that house had a little fire or a fire at the fireplace and now there's a hole in the ceiling and it's wet. This is
Well, I'm not questioning the
yeah.
condition. I'm questioning why it's our jurisdiction and not the township or city that it's in.
it becomes a human health hazard for the county is what, so that's where the jurisdiction changes is it becomes dangerous to anybody surrounding it. I get where you're saying. Why does
I guess my concern is, like, is Park Falls good? I'm just picking on them because I know they've got some on the list they're going to raise, and you can add to this, Mr. Worko, if you want. But are they going to push? Are they going to tell us?
So there's statutes that would push like this. We have to meet, I think, what's A through H. I know that's on our, but there's like 10 things that we have to meet in order for it to become a human health hazard or an environmental health hazard, compared to like I said, a house that's been neglected is not a human health hazard because it's just worn down. So there's a lot of statutory differences. So we're monitoring it and
get more knowledgeable, I guess, on that.
Yeah, I do believe it'll become an issue. I don't see it being taken care of, but we'll see. So those are the two areas. They're health and human services is both health and humans, but health will have that environmental issue. Human services, just the high cost placements. Behavioral health and senior services, they're very, very busy, but not above and beyond the budget at this time. Other funds, so animal control should be, like I said, we're not seeing anything additional at Catkins due to cases with holds for court. We did have one earlier in the year, but I believe that's been resolved. Veterans Service Fund, nothing there. Highway, biggest thing we're seeing, and this is more for 2026, is we got our bids for our truck. Last year we were paying about $335, $340 by the time the truck was finished. The bids came in at $355, $600. So we'll have to come up with the extra $5,600, which is based on like last year we borrowed $350, and so we had a tenth. We'll use that to cover that gap. But that was the lowest bidder. We had another bidder for $15,000 more than that. So vehicles are not getting cheaper. It's just cost of doing plowing.
Nick, what was the term for those trucks?
We do 9 years of depreciable. We run them, Joe, would you say 14 before we sell? In the past, we've 14.
Well,
yeah.
Yes, on average with the replacement schedule that we had before, but
yeah,
now
I
that
only
we're
asked
doing
Joe because
a little different. So
Joe was part of it. So I believe, that 14, 15. We are trying to replace them a little quicker. Some of those that we're running 14 to 20 years, it transitions from, if it's a quality truck after 10 or 12, we can put like a tanker on it, or I don't know what else they use the chassis for, but they'll transition to other things that have lower use. But by the time they get to that 10, 12 years, depending on the salt and the abuse, we're lucky to get one or two that last with the extra.
if I could just make a comment here, that'd be a good idea for everybody to go on the road tour, because then they could get all this information from Roger, right? Correct? Just, that's a plug, by the way.
Sales pitch. Any question on just the day-to-day for any department? If not, Price County cash, we have $9.8 million. We're 12% more than last year at this time. But last month we were below. So as you can see, we got money in later than we would have, blah, blah, blah. So we're in a good spot as
What's the
September.
reason for the influx? Like, I mean, we were behind for the last 9 months, 2, 4, 6.
It
8
was
months.
probably a late payment, not a late payment's wrong, but we probably received a state or a federal payment or something was held up somewhere, not because of anything, just usually we get on October 30th. This year we got on November 3rd or whatever
Sure.
date wise. So it just was the cash flow issue. We do in October is when we get our half shared revenue, half of our November shared revenue and general transportation aid. So you'll see an influx there, and then we'll go lower again in that November, and then all of a sudden we collect taxes and we get $5 million in loans to pay back. So we've been paying cash for everything we do at Highway that you guys normally take a loan for, so we don't pay interest, and then we'll get that back in the end. So we're doing well with cash. Sales tax, last year in July we had 116. This year we had 120,000, so $4,000 more collected. Which if you average it out over a couple of years, we're 2.7% ahead. That's about what the state's predicting is 3%, 2.5 to 3% for the full year. We don't see at this time any issues of hitting the budgeted amount. One thing we remind people, because this one, everybody goes, oh my gosh, people have less or getting less. But if you look at it, you used to be for $100 at your household, you bought 10 widgets. You still spend the same $100, which we collect sales tax on, but you're only getting 8 widgets. So it's not that when people feel like they're getting less for their money, the sales tax is still the same because you're still spending the same amount of money. So this is more based on unemployment and discretionary, which discretionary is when you buy above and beyond rather than general taxable, like your heat and electricity. That's not discretionary per se. So I don't see a influx. I don't see a decrease though. So I would say we're going to plateau here for the next year or so. Stumpage, we talked earlier, we're just over $1 million. So last year we were at 625. So we're $400,000 more than we were at this time last year. I believe it's 4 to 6 people working in the woods currently cutting. So we should hit our budget number, if not a little bit more. High cost placements, where it's the yellow line, we're 55% higher than last year at this time. And that's what I talked about earlier about our concern with Health and Human Services, the couple overages. We've had some big high cost placements. So we're 159,000 above last year. We know those bills are still coming for a couple high costs. AODA, we've caught up to our average, but we're below last year at this time. So we're at 240 compared to 390. So we're 150 less than last year at this time. So if you combine the both, a lot of times the hard part is the cases we deal with can bounce between AODA and children use. So sometimes it's a behavioral health would be an AODA type expense. So they bounce back and forth depending on what they're classified as. So it's 1 year you're up, 1 year you're down in each. Health insurance, we're in the black, so we're doing good. We will be talking about health insurance tomorrow at the admin meeting to set the premiums, deductibles, and the general program for employees for 2026. We did make some changes, significance the wrong word, but we did make changes to the plan in order to maintain or gain a little bit here in this fund. We're seeing, again, Tailored Health has probably been the biggest saver of this. We got our quarterly bill. It was another $70,000 in savings. So for the year, it was 250. We're at like $350,000 to $400,000 in basic savings by using Tailored Family Clinic. So that's been a huge savings. We are going to be working with employees next year in incentivizing that even more, because what we're finding is once people have tried Tailored Family, they continue to go. So once they understand the service and can change the way they see it, they continue to go, and that it's a big savings. So the example I've been giving is we had an employee who used to have to go, I think it was monthly, down to Medford to get a lab. The lab was costing the county, because they hit their deductible, about $1,500. But it's not just the $1,500, because now you lose production for a half a day, if not a full day, for the employee. So they're using their sick or vacation, and that family's having to drive down there, and they probably add lunch or whatever. So there's additional expenses. So they go back and forth, miss work. There's 2 to 4 hours of their time in life, blah, blah, blah. Now that individual is going over to Tailored. They're not hitting their deductible, because Tailored can do it in that morning or afternoon. They're not missing work. They're not driving. They're not having that extra vehicle expense. And it's costing us about $600, if not a little less, at Tailored to do the same thing. So every month we're saving on that person, which equals about $7,000 to $8,000 savings. So we're hearing from employees, not only they appreciate the savings and they don't have to pay for the Tailored, but they're getting their life back, right? They're getting their time, they're getting their travel, they don't have to find somebody to pick up their kids from school or whatever it might be. So we're getting people on board, and it's working really well. Any questions about 2025 and where we're at?
Okay, hearing no questions there, we'll go on to item 2B, 2026 budget, approve and forward to public hearing.
All right.
Have that in your packet?
So you should have what we're calling the third draft. It'll turn into the final draft for public hearing. So the public hearing draft. The only thing that we changed based on the last presentation was last month we said that the increase to the general levy would be, on the second page, would be 1.44%. After we went through the budget again, it's now 1.02%. So it's a 1% total levy increase, which is actually the same as net new construction. So our net new construction was 1.2. It's actually less than our net new construction. So that's positive. We've held the levy pretty steady. You guys approved loans last month that would go in this. We did get the loan quotes. They came back about right where we thought they would. Nothing extreme. The long-term one was a little higher because of the 5 years for TJ's IT project. That one came in, I think, like 20 basis points above the rest, so it wasn't a lot of difference from what we expected.
I just have a comment regarding that. The loan quotes, interest rates were actually less than some of the CDs.
Yeah, so we've been buying long-term CDs.
Well, that's a good thing.
And so we bought long-term CDs with our cash available, and the loan amounts that we're getting are less than the rate that we're getting on the long-term CDs. It doesn't help. I mean, it helps us. It's good to know that we got in at the right time for those, but it's not, we don't have to worry about arbitrage, which is we take a loan out and invest the loan money. We're investing our cash, not our loan money, but it's still positive. So really, we're in a good spot for that.
What is the interest rate?
For
the loans were just under 3. I mean, just under 4. They're 3 something, and
Thank you.
You'll see
the CDs were all over 4.
Yeah. And those loans, again, there's only one we keep, well, 2 we keep long-term, a highway one that we do 3 years, and then an IT one that we do 5 years. The rest are, we borrow in December, pay back Q1. So we do, really, you're paying 1/4 of that percentage for the year. Trying to think anything in the packets.
Did you want to just reiterate that there's one open item because we're still in negotiation?
Oh, yeah. So the one thing that's struggles or frustrating with setting this budget is we set the budget. Here's your in your packet. That's what each department is budgeted for. So, for example, Sheriff's Department and jail, we did increase their budget knowing they've been over. But tomorrow we start negotiations with the union. So there's no money built into this budget for that negotiation. That being said, we'll be a year behind. We'll catch up in 2020 7 when whatever we negotiate with. So that's one area that there's positives. Like, we try to set money aside. We didn't have a lot of wiggle to set money aside, but you also don't want to set money aside and then go, by the way, union, we set aside this much. How much would you like as your negotiation? So we'll go into that just like we did with general employees. There's a 0% increase on wages. That's, we'll start with a number, they'll start with a number, we go back and forth. Our goal is to finish negotiation between this meeting, admin meeting tomorrow, and November's. So November, we have a Tuesday admin meeting, which we have a Wednesday board meeting due to the Veterans Service or Veterans Day. It was moved a year ago to the Wednesday so that those who celebrate Veterans Day at the school can go to that. But we'll have the admin meeting before. If we can come to a tentative agreement, we can ratify at the board meeting in November. If we can't come to a tentative agreement, we would actually be waiting till February or March. Well, February or April, because you don't have a March meeting. So then it becomes an issue of, and we may not be able to settle by then, but then there's back pay and a whole bunch of other issues you deal with.
Mr. Kopish, you look like you have something.
I do. I was waiting for him to finish.
Questions on the budget?
Yeah. I made a comment at the last meeting about the borrowing for long-term placements. And so I did a bunch of legwork and looked at numbers and stuff, and you see stuff when you have time to sit and look at it. Basically, and I'm not criticizing anybody. I perfectly understand what you're doing. And it's an approach. And basically,
could you just briefly refer back to what you're talking about as far as it's
I made a
$400,000,
comment. I'm
right?
borrowing $400 and some $1,000 for high cost placements.
Okay.
That I didn't agree with that. Okay. And I just went back and looked at numbers and tried to verify or rationalize what I was saying, because I just don't want to see us go that route. But I understand where you're going, and I have the most respect for Carrie and all the work she does. And I went back and forth on a couple of things, and I'm not criticizing anybody. It's just maybe a philosophy. And if you look at your budget reconciliation on that first page, the allowable tax levy increase is basically used up with wage step increases, and it's offset by some additional revenues. That's right in the middle of the page. So the 1% that's falling down to the bottom really isn't that 1%. It's coming from a different source. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is on the big sheet, this one, big Price County levy worksheet. Down on the bottom there, if you look at your bridge and culvert aid, that dropped by $376,000 from last year's budget. And that's one of those items that when that happens, we have to levy it. We have no choice, because that's the program. So last year it went up and we levied for it. We had a 4.5% increase last year. This year it went down. So you would think then we'd have some benefit from that. And this is where I'm coming from. So the way the gap was filled is we're borrowing this extra $400,000, which on the resolution said long-term placements, but also said capital projects and all that kind of stuff. There are a bunch of stuff in that resolution. So that's why I made the comment. I don't know if we should be borrowing for long-term placements. Now, what I see is an opportunity to maybe have no levy increase. And if you wouldn't use any of that 376, you'd actually have a decrease. And from a taxpayer standpoint, should we be looking at that? Okay. Because we keep raising the levy. A couple other things is I looked at the Green Book, and I don't know if you spent much time looking at the Green Book, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But I'll preface that because we are in good shape. You know, when we had the audit, our fund balance is at 30.66%, and the recommended is 16%. We're double where we need to be with fund balance. Debt, we're at 2%. The recommendation is 20% or less. We're in good shape there. We've got $9.8 million in the bank. I mean, we are in good shape. We're way better shape than we were 10 years ago when we were usually cash balance was down around 5 or 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. We're up 9, 10, 11. We're doing way better than we used to be. And that's good. That's a lot of hard work by a lot of people. But if you look at the Green Book, our levy rate at 5.89 is number 67. There's only 5 counties in the state that have a higher levy. Our levy per capita is $961. We're also number 67. There's only five counties in the state that are higher than us. And interesting, they aren't the same 5 counties. You know, it's different counties in each case. Highway miles, I keep saying, well, we got so many highway miles, but we're ranked number 20. That means there's 19 counties with less highway miles, and there's 52 counties with more highway miles. Highway spending per capita is $476. We're number 71. There's only one county that's higher than us. Now, we did a lot of work. Joe, you were part of that, getting money so that we could start fixing our roads. And so that took a lot of resources. But is that, we're going to stay there forever? Or is that going to start coming down? Because we put a lot of money into borrowing so we get the roads fixed. Is that going to come down, or are we going to stay there? Just a question. State aid, which is interesting too, per capita, we get $558 per person. There's only 10 counties that are higher than that. And I guess I didn't really realize that we were getting that much state aid, which is good. I'm happy we're getting it. 5-year job growth, -8%. We're ranked number 4 as the highest negative. So there's only 3 counties that are worse than us in job growth, which is a very concerning thing. And we talked about this a little bit before on the way the demographics are changing. And population, of course, we're at number 7. So there's only 6 counties that are less than us. So I hope I'm getting what I'm saying across. And basically, again, I think there's an opportunity to have no levy increase if we wanted to do it. But I can understand what you're doing so that we don't have this kind of stuff. So that's my 2 cents worth.
I just got one comment, then I'm going to let Nick and Carrie comment as far as why they think they're doing it the right way or a different way.
Mr. Chairman,
I didn't read that.
How do you really feel, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chairman.
It came out wrong.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak before Nick and Carrie also.
Okay. My only comment is per capita, his numbers are correct, but we have a smaller population, but it's not, you got this pie is the same, but you got it divided up between less people because our population's lower. So it's kind of deceiving.
There's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But like I said on that one, the 5 counties that were higher than us are not the same counties on
Right.
per capita as they are on the other ones. So it fluctuates. And it's not just population. You know, it's amazing when you look at the numbers that we do better than counties with bigger population. But then again, we do worse than some others. So.
Well, it depends on what you're looking at too. I mean, per capita, what funds we receive in is high because we have less people, but the pie is just divided up less ways. But also when we spend, it's the same way. Mr. Bracker.
So just a couple points. Question for Bob. So on the human service stuff with the borrowing, are you proposing then to use that out of our general fund to
What? Well, if we don't budget for it and we go over, that's what happens.
Okay. So instead of
that's what
borrowing for it and be proactive on it, we just go through the season, and if we're over, then that's where we take it out of as a general fund.
What we're doing is trying to not let that happen, I believe, which is a good strategy. I'm just saying, I'm not sure that that's what we should be doing. Because
Yeah, no,
once you open that door,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
because
Well, no, I
you can borrow as much as you want.
Right.
No,
I
really.
totally
Yeah.
agree with you on that aspect of, I just wanted to understand your thought process on where that funds would come from if we don't do this. And then secondly, I guess, and maybe Larry too can comment on this, but at one of our Highway and Transportation Committee meetings, we had that discussion about where we're at in our progress on our project that was started to get back in shape with our roads. Roger provided a pacer map that we've used in the past to show where we're at. I think we're going to be there eventually to where that is going to plateau out, and then we can start looking at scaling back because we're going to be there in our rotation. So just to kind of answer your question, where we're at, those conversations are being
Yeah,
had at Highway.
2030,
Larry, I don't know if you
2030.
wanted to speak to that at all or not too, but.
I believe 20% of our roads are still at a 1 to 2 rating.
Yeah, they are.
And to
That are-
finish
that's
Joe's,
bad, yes.
yeah, to finish
That's
Joe's,
bad,
Very bad.
very bad.
to finish Joe's is with that borrowing. So right now we've peaked at that 3 million to do the roads. talking to Roger based on the plan and catching up, it's about between 2030 and 2032 that we'll start to be able to go back down to more of the maintenance and maintain a level. So there is a long-term plan for that. To address the high cost placement. So one thing I want to make sure everybody understands, this is not for operating. So we're not, this 400,000 recommended for borrowing for high cost placements is not to offset an operating cost for the year that we're coming up on. This is to look that we had a $377,000 loss in that department last year. We believe there'll be a potential overage again this year. So in order to maintain that plateau of our levy, the 1%, what we're looking at, and this is where a 2-year budget, a 3-year budget would be really helpful, is so this year we're saying, yep, bridge and culvert aid went down. We don't see that increasing like it did the 1 year. We had a $400,000. It looks like it'll kind of maintain that 20 to 50, maybe 75, but we filled that hole essentially with the debt to say, cool, pay us back because we had some bad years in health and human services, which we're trying to work on going forward. We'll see where that goes. But we know we have a $2 million communications project coming. So we were hoping to get that started this year. It's taking way longer to even figure out what that communication project looks like. And that means, so in 2029, our 911 center is out of date. It's end of life. So it's about a 10-year cycle for a 911 center. So we're going to hit end of life. We know all the communications pieces there need to be updated, and then everything on the towers, which the towers is in conjunction with the bug tussle project. So we know we're going to be borrowing about, I'm giving very, very big number, but say $2 million to do both of those projects. We know we get about $60,000 right now from bug tussle. That'll slowly go down. So say on a $2 million loan over 10 years, you're going to pay $250,000 to $280,000. $60,000 of that would be bug tussle. We need to come up with a $200,000 payment to cover that. That's where, like, now next year we know, okay, this $400,000 goes away because it was not an operational. Now we put it into the tower project so that we don't have to go down 2%, whatever the levy would go down. And oh, by the way, you guys want to do a tower project next year? We're going to have a 6% levy increase or a 3%, 4% levy increase. So again, our goal, if I did a 2-year budget, would be next year we keep it at that 1% or net new construction. We can fit that tower project in. We can fit our IT project. We can fit our whatever projects because we had a stopgap of a priority that we need, whether you take it out of general fund or use this statutory allowance to pay that fund back to keep it going for a little longer, because I don't see us slowing down in health and human services, and we don't get an increase every year for operational. So something's going to have to break, whether it's you say, okay, we're now not doing, I don't want to pit any department against anybody, but we're not doing X because we need more in high cost placements. We're really using this is a Band-Aid to say we're allowing everybody to go over in high cost placements for another year. 2 years, it gives us a runway to try to figure out the problem rather than tomorrow figure out the problem. That's the strategy Carrie and I put together to work with. I 100% understand the lower the levy because you have that opportunity. But I also look at where we're getting calls in the community. If like we went up 10% last year, we went up 16% the year before, we went up 6% the year before. Yes, we got a few calls, but it wasn't pitchfork and ready. This year it's 1%. So to go up 1 or 2%, you'll notice more in your apportionment change than you will in just a levy change. So for example, Town of Worcester will be paying 0.75 less of the total levy than they did last year. So even with this 1%, they're predicted to go down on their tax bill from the county. But Town of, was it Ogama or Prentice or wherever is, they're yeah, one of them is paying like 0.5 more. So no matter what you did, their tax bill is going to go up. So if it's trying to say everybody's tax bill goes down, that's not how the end result would be if you changed to have a negative levy increase. So that's the strategy we used. I agree. We've talked about it. I know both sides of it. It's more of thinking about 2027 than it is and worried about coming and going, we're going to have a 6% increase because we have this tower project or whatever project that might be.
Mr. Greca.
So just to kind of go off of that, so looking at this, it sounds to me like it's timing. You know, it's timing to when we're going to have those funds collected to have for future projects. So a couple questions I guess I would have is it smart to borrow now at this interest rate, or is it smart to do what Bob's talking about? Do it the way that is, and does our financial climate with interest rates change here in the next year, 2 years when we need that funding, which would be a fiscal thing to the county. So that would be one of my questions is, are we doing it now to stopgap 2 years from now? And can we do that at that time where the climate might be better for rates? The second part is talking about the highway projects and that program. Where does that fall into when we're going to get to that point where we're not having to have that? To where those funds might be available to shift around. Like we talked about, we didn't do roads for 20 years, more than a couple miles a year, which put us in the position that we were in, that we had to catch up on roads. So just looking at it as a big plan, and I know you guys do, you do an excellent job. But Bob has a valid point of, do we borrow now for future, or do we wait and see?
Yeah, I can't predict rates.
I know you can't, yeah.
And we do short-term borrowing. So the only ones that we're worried about is like if we do another IT project that's 5 years. Now the tower project would be the issue. The sooner we can get that one going, probably that's where your interest rate's going to beat you up. Yeah.
I guess that was my other question, was these projects that we're going to be doing are going to be considered capital, not operational. So we're
Correct.
able to borrow at that point.
Yep,
also.
you'll be able to increase, but the goal would be not to increase by making this one go away, or starting in 2030, 2032, when roads are caught up. I'm not saying they'll be complete. Instead of 3.1, is it 2.5 a year? So now we have a $600,000 gap of whether you use it operationally or however you do it. Yeah, I can't. Right. I think the hardest part is we also look at this green book, and I get frustrated every year with it because I don't think it paints the full picture. Population, we just talked about it. We're seeing an older population buying houses to retire here. So our population is stagnant or going down. Well, if you divide by the people, it's going to cost you more, but we still have to plow the road. So whether you have 1,000 people in your community or 10,000, you still have to plow that road. And we have a truck on that road. So I talked to Executive Sam Kirchman. She's Racine County. We were having a conversation. She's the president of WCEA. I'm the vice president. So we were talking about this exact thing. And she asked, how many, highway routes do you have? And I said, oh, we have 14 if I had to guess. And she goes, oh, we have 14 routes also. And I said, oh, how many staff members? And they had over 50 people to plow those roads. We have 22 that are plowable individuals. How often do you plow them? Oh, we're almost 24 hours. I mean, they have some interstate, so that's a little different, but in their general highway, they have people, the people demand, right? They have more population. So they're saying, if it's a flake, you're out there where we're, okay, it's 6 a.m. We'll get out there. We don't go at 4 or 3 in the morning to get out. So it's really hard to compare population to the number and you guys have made it a priority. Not every county has said, let's put $3 million really we're up to $5 million between equipment and roads. Our operational levy is $7 million, and you're doing $5 million of borrowing just for highway. So there's been a priority here. You could, if you want to go zero or go less, say no yellow equipment, that's $500,000. Say no second truck, that's $350,000. So we've prioritized. That's different. Also, if you look at surrounding counties that are prioritizing stuff, we're not prioritizing a jail. They prioritize a jail. Now they have a $300,000 payment and $40 million of bonding on a jail. That's where their levy went. We could start spreading it out. So instead of making the payments all at once, we could make it go down easily by saying that truck, that $350,000, do it over 3 years. Now we don't make the instant payment. Our levy goes down by $250,000. Does that make everybody happy? But now we're paying interest. So we've done different strategies than others because they have different priorities. Washera County did a $48 million courthouse. That's where their levy's going. We've done $5 million a year in roads. That's a new courthouse in 8 years. Like that's quick. We're paying it off quick. We're saying fiscally different rather than bonding for 10 years every time we do $5 million. It's in 10 years, you'd catch up to a $5 million payment, but today you're not.
Mr. Kopish.
Do you want to share, we talked about this levy cap at the new construction at 1% we get, which really doesn't suffice. Do you want to talk about the conversation you had with state legislative leadership as far as why they
I
won't
won't say
address that?
who I was talking to.
You don't have to
but
say
yeah.
who. Yeah.
So part of my role with WCEA is talking to leadership in the legislature. And so one of our big things is, why are we capping the levy? You guys are a decision-making board for local areas. So my argument was, if you decide to increase your operational levy by 10%, every 2 years, you go through an election. If the people don't like it, get rid of you, right? If the people go, yep, I see there was a purpose, keep it. So when I was talking to legislators about this, I said, when are we going to get rid of this levy cap and let the local decision makers? And the comment I received was, it's not going anywhere because you have options. We've given you options. So our options are debt, which we do. You can go to a referendum, let the people decide rather than, so we have a referendum, which we see are not very successful when you say operation. So they're not there to say, make it easy. You have options, and that's what the people want. I'm not going to get reelected if I get rid of.
Wasn't part of it looking like they're trying to control county spending?
Right.
'Cause that was a big deal back
so
in
it's
the
a
90s.
right?
Counties
so
were out of control.
Right, so they would not be reelected if they allowed a no levy cap, because then it's, oh my gosh, it's uncontrolled spending. That would be the message, right? Counties are out of control. When it's up to you locally to decide whether or not, just like you're doing with highways, you've made a conscious decision to borrow $5 million to do roads. That's what you've decided as a priority. So why not make it an operational levy? And when you're done with those roads, make the operational levy go down. It's, instead we're paying the big banks, we're paying interest rate for no reason. Now we've got around that, but yeah.
Brian?
Right, Mr. Hellstrom.
I'd just like to make one comment about the Green Book. It's information. I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but one of the things I think that hurts us is the amount of land we have in Price County that's not on the tax roll. I mean, we have is it a third of our county or what's the percentage? I don't know, but we have a lot of it. If all that was owned by private, the National Forest, the Flambeau Forest, we have a lot of non-taxed land in this county. So I don't know how that's reflected in the Green Book with the numbers. I just don't think it is. So I don't put a lot of faith in a lot of the numbers I see in the Green Book, because
I think they're good. They're
because
just
of that. Yeah, they're numbers. Numbers are numbers. They can be made look however you want them to look.
Sorry.
And that's exactly when I talked to Dale Knapp, who is
retiring.
He's retiring, but he has been a major mainstay of the Green Book. And it came up at an executive meeting. I think, Alan, you brought up the comparisons in the Green Book about Sawyer and Price and those that are around us with highway, correct? And so I not using your name, I just said there was a concern that came to us about the roads and the highway and the Green Book and the comparisons. And he kind of laughed it off a little bit, just kind of saying, well, it's just numbers. And I said, well, but roads are all different in different counties. I mean, you have swampland, you have hardpan, you have all the terms that they use for that. And he goes, yeah, we kind of know that. I wouldn't put too much on it. So he was
one request
kind of
I've
saying
had.
that.
So they're going to be working. I talked to Kevin Dossboy and who's the other partner in that situation. So two things they're going to work on with the Green Book. One, they're going to regionalize it. So when you go online, you can pick a comparable county rather than compare us to Dane County or Dodge County or whatever. So you'll be able to pick a region or specific counties, which will be helpful for these type of discussions. The second thing I've requested is somehow showing the comparable, like a tax bill. If I bought a house in Price County and mine is assessed at $260,000, if I bought that same house in Chippewa County, would that be a $260,000 assessed, or would it be a $600,000 assessed? And so they have a $2 mill rate and we have a $6 mill rate. Your tax bill on both of those houses will be exactly the same. There was a thing that went around where it's like, oh, my, tax bill is so high. But if you actually look at other tax bills in other counties, we're right in it. Actually, we're probably low in some cases. You're always going to find ones that are higher, and you're always going to find somebody that's lower. That's just the cost, what taxes are. So that's one request in the Green Book is like, what's that average bill look like, rather than, oh, I'm a $5 mill rate. Yeah, you're a $5 mill rate, but your assessment is 1/3 of what the $2 mill rate is. So the tax bill is in line with each other based on what the home is.
Mr. Hastings.
The housing assessment is an issue in and of itself, but with the high cost placement stuff that Bob was talking about, I think the root of the problem is that the state is raking us over the coals with the pricing and the requirements, is it not?
These are different. So there's two types of high cost placements. There's one where it's secured, and the other one's like a behavioral health. So like the behavioral health would be Winnebago. There's one other, Mandota. That's what it is, Mandota. And those ones, yes, they're high cost, but it's just there's no facilities. It's a supply and demand. But yeah, there's two different types. So the ones that the state that Evers not vetoed, line item vetoed or number vetoed, where it was supposed to be $2,700, now it's $700. Or it went down quite a bit. We have nobody in those high cost placements. Those are secured locations. That's Lincoln Hills, and there was another facility. But the high cost placements are a responsibility of your local county. Where we really have done well in the past is we have a lot of in between. So we have a lot of programming that tries to prevent that high cost placement, the behavioral health high cost placement.
And the state owns Lincoln Hills?
The state's no, they've required it to be closed. It's a private, Lincoln Hills and the other one. The Mandota and what did we just say? Winnebago. Those are private facilities, I believe. Those are
They're the ones that are price gouging?
I wouldn't call them. They're a facility no, I wouldn't say that. It's the cost of them having the facility and the doctors, and they can't have,
I guess I couldn't add to that either. As far as price gouging, it could be. I haven't dug into it, but it's
Right.
supply and demand right now. And we don't have any choice. We're mandated to provide that,
and it's a
the
30-day
court
wait,
says.
50-day wait for a bed. They're overwhelmed with individuals. It's hopefully they're short term, sometimes they're long term. We're talking multiple different facilities. So there's Chapter 51 facilities. There's the youth facilities that are, open and closed, and then there's the Lincoln Hills facility, which is juvenile. I don't know.
How many individuals
Be nice.
equals the 400,000?
Oh, do you remember on the chart, like 30 some?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
36 cases, I
Back
think,
to
at
the-
any one time.
it's good discussion, but back to the budget now. Do you want to discuss changing it? Do we need a
Do
motion? No, I didn't say you. As a board, we want to propose that this be changed. Do we vote on it?
So ultimately, what you need to do today is come up with a number to forward to the public hearing. Executive reviewed it and recommended a number of $13,529,200 to forward to the public hearing. Is that wrong? Gary's giving, okay.
So we need a motion to amend what was forwarded from executive. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Carrie can give you a number.
Wouldn't that come in during the next item for approval?
Yeah,
That's
where
I would
we're
amend,
at.
yeah,
Okay.
you would amend that number. When we get there, the number would be whatever less by what.
So if we took out the 400, I just want to let you know what it would change to so that you know. So if you took out that 400,000 borrowing, let me undo. So look at the sheet, that's the reconciliation sheet.
The
So-
second page,
yep,
I
the
have it
second
up.
page. So down at the bottom, it says we're going down 8.15%.
That's your mill rate.
That's your mill rate is what's going down. And just above that where Bob was saying the 1.02, your levy increase. Okay.
My little hands.
So look at both of those and then I'll tell you what those will change to.
And that's with just paying the 400,000 out
Yep.
of the
Just-
cash
yep.
fund versus borrowing that 400,000. That's
No,
what we're discussing.
right now, this
It's
is,
not doing anything.
this is borrowing.
I know
yeah.
this is, but this change, I'm just saying this change that she's telling us, just so everyone's aware, is not borrowing the 400,000. It's paying it out of the cash balance.
If we
Yes.
need to
Yes.
pay
Okay.
it.
And I would be more worried about the future for that.
Yep, that's fine. I
Correct.
just want to make sure we're all on the same page with the number.
Right. So I want you to know what the change in your taxes are going to be.
Yep.
No, not the mill, well.
The mill rate.
The levy.
The
and the
levy.
mill rate.
Yes.
The levy and the mill
Change your
rate.
taxes. I
Yes.
can't guarantee
Yeah,
what your
no.
taxes are.
Correct. All right. So your tax levy percentage will go down to a negative 1.99.
Ooh. So it changes 3%. Little, three
Roughly,
point.
But-
Yep,
But
yep, that's
just
first.
not borrowing the
Correct.
400,000.
Just taking out that 400,000 is going to,
Okay,
yep, it'll
that's
be a
fine.
negative 1.99.
3.02
And the mill rate
down here.
is down there, yep, is gonna go from your 5.41 to 5.25. And then that negative is 0.48 cents is gonna go 0.64. And your percent will be a decrease in mill rate is a negative 10.89.
Okay. Now, this still does not include any negotiations with.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that number can still go back up some.
No.
No,
Not on this
No,
budget.
We'll be using
It'll be-
fund
will be
balance.
fund
Okay.
balance money, yep.
Okay, just want to double check too.
So we'll
So
have
the
a catch
question
up.
is, you can think about it a little bit, but does anybody want to make a motion to not borrow the money, to amend this budget that's
I have-
going to be forwarded to public?
I have one
hearing?
more question for
Yeah,
Nick
Mr.
and
Becker.
Gary. Do we have a 20,000-foot view, what do you think the fiscal impact is gonna be from negotiations? 20,000-foot view. Worst case scenario.
Not
I know
cheap.
that's tough. I know that's tough.
I
but it's
can
pertinent
say
information.
I've had I've had conversations with the representative. We're both in good places where there shouldn't be. If you've been on the negotiating team over the years, we've had some rough ones and we've
Oh,
had
yeah.
some good ones. I believe we're in a good place, but we have, would we fit 14, 15 individuals that
15.
this is a 1% change per year with WRS, and everything is about $13,000. I can tell you we're not getting away with 1%. And that's just wages. That's not including other.
Step on step.
Well, I'm not worried about there's other, they could request additional holidays. They could request anything. I mean, there's other potential fiscal.
Yeah, let's
impacts.
just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Mr.
So
Copish,
1% change, as you said, 13?
13,000.
So 5% would be 65.
Is that what we saw
I
yesterday?
think so. It's
I
pretty
don't
close.
remember.
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Right?
okay, Mr. Vorko?
You are awake.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like to sit and listen once in a while, but
I was gonna check for a podium.
I think and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Nick and Carrie's goal here is to bring stability to the levy,
That's what I see.
because up and down is what
Fights.
gets people mad. They like the
Yeah, because if
stability.
it goes way down one year, it's like, why is it so high the next year?
Right.
Then you got a
Right.
lot of explaining to do.
So I would be opposed to changing what they're
You never
proposing.
remember the decreases, you only remember the increases though.
Right.
But
Right.
sometimes a decrease can outweigh an increase but not be noticed.
Right. I agree.
Okay, I'll ask if anybody has if there's no more comment, let's put it that way. I will ask that somebody, if they want to change this budget, forward a motion to amend.
A suggestion, why don't you have the motion to approve as presented and then see if there's an amendment?
So we go.
Okay.
Go to the next item,
Next,
right? Or no?
no,
It's this.
I just
Okay.
need to share it, yep.
as soon as Meredith gets it up there, we will vote to accept the proposed budget as presented
Oh, that's
to put forward to the public hearing.
How many townships did reassessments? Do we know that number? 7?
Yeah,
I just know that there was a lot of
there's
stuff
a-
out there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah. A lot of unhappy
I know
stuff.
we're trying to move forward on this, but Cindy Chase and I are doing a presentation at the Towns Association to discuss the difference between assessments and apportionments, because we've gotten a lot of feedback that my assessment went up by twice as much. I looked at I did a rough math and my taxes are going to double. That's not how it works. So Cindy Chase will be discussing how your apportionment within your municipality is amongst each other, your neighbor. So if everybody doubles, your tax bill would stay the same. What I'm going to be discussing are apportionments where, like we said, the town of Worcester will go down and some will go up based on if you did 0%. It has nothing to do with apportionments, but yeah, or assessments, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Warco, second by Barkstrom, to approve and forward this budget to a public hearing as presented. Any discussion?
I cannot see that on my screen anymore.
What are you looking for?
Well, it's back to board chair reports.
Oh,
Hit X, I'm just having her get out and get back in.
Are you sure you want to quit? Okay, okay. It did tell me that I was dying. Not what I want to
okay.
hear.
I'll
I
ask
should start getting
one more
ready to
time. Is there any further
record a
discussion?
song for my funeral. Oh, back, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead, call for a vote.
What is the vote again?
If to forward this budget as presented to public hearing.
Got it. Thank you.
And the motion passes 9 yes, 3 no, 1 abstain to motion Worko, second Barkstrom to approve and forward this budget to public hearing as presented.
Okay. That takes care of that item. County Administrative Report C, updates. Do you have anything else, Nick?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. I just mentioned I'm going to the Towns Association meeting. Cindy and I are meeting at 2:00 today to go over our presentation. Like I said, she's going to talk about assessments and how there's a lot of misinformation on what that does to your tax bill. I'm going to talk about apportionments so that when she says, okay, you've set amongst your neighbors, that might mean it goes up or down, but apportionments are what determines what a municipality pays. So you might not even be assessed and yours might go up or down. So we'll be working on that and doing that. If it turns out to be a pretty decent presentation, I might talk to Brian to see if we want to do that at the full board. I think it's a good point of information that we could do at the next board meeting. I talked a little bit about the Health and Human Services issue with that house we're working on, and I'll keep Brian updated.
I got a question with that.
Sure.
Kopish was wondering if we're able to do any internal investigations within the county. It's obviously something that needs to happen if you're raising a house, right? I mean, it's an internal investigation.
No.
No.
I
I'm
don't
just
understand
curious.
the question.
There's got to be some kind of investigation, right?
the house was reported to us by neighbors. It was due to an animal call. Our officer goes in and checks on that house and then reports it to environmental health.
Okay.
That's the process for that.
Process, okay.
I don't know what it's not an internal, it's just, we're investigating the
I'm just
issue. Yeah.
curious.
Yep. So that house we'll work on. I did have a conversation with Bug Tussle. I don't know if everybody gets the email, but there was an email that went out that Bug Tussle was originally awarded BEAD funding for a lot of the locations that their tower was. Something in their application was looked at and was not accepted. So they lost the BEAD funding, which is just an additional funding to the project. The project's still a go to move forward. It's just they won't expand or they won't be doing the BEAD portion of that, which is what they were hoping to do. It sounds like the best estimates are next summer is when they're going to have some towers done. And that was based on acquisition. I don't know. They told us a bunch of stuff, but we're working on it. The longer it takes, we've spent $0 on it. So they're actually paying us more because they haven't had to make any payments. So we're still making extra basis points on that. But I am working on it's not a contract, a rider to the original agreement to make sure we're all on the same page with Bug Tussle on what it'll look like when the tower's in place for our equipment. So I want to make sure it's in writing. We're going to get this space to this space. We're going to have to maintain this or that. Who's doing the maintenance? Can we access it? I know there's a lot of FCC, whatever. There's a lot of rules on who can access certain things because of the equipment. So we have to be able to access our tower equipment and blah, blah, blah. So we're getting it in writing because I don't want to get through the project and all of a sudden they say, oh no, you can't go in there in the winter or something weird. So I'm working on that. We've started a web page update based on the AODA requirements. By 2027, all government web pages have to be AODA compliant to new regulations, which really comes down to sight and hearing impairment. So the biggest hurdle, like right now, it's not a big deal with our design. So the function of the website is Civic Plus's issue. It functions under the AODA compliance. The copy that goes on the website is our responsibility. So that's all the words, all the buttons. So we are currently going through a refresh because we get a free refresh every so many years, which will update all our buttons. We'll look at our copy to make sure it's the right fonts, colors, contrast. And then the biggest cost or the biggest issue will be all documents that are on the website have to be compliant under this new thing, which is there's two ways to go about it. We're going to choose option 2, so don't worry too much. So option 1 is there's a program that charges you $10 per page on any PDF you put onto your website, which we have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pages. Or there's option 2 where we take everything off that's out of our records retention level. And then going forward, we work with the program. We can purchase the program and have our staff make sure it's compliant it's called indexing of PDFs. Every PDF has to be indexed so that individuals with impairment, hearing or seeing can still utilize the website. So right now there's going to be some costs in 2026 to be up to compliance, to get to compliance. We see no issue to getting there by April 2027. We are considered a county under 50,000. So we get an extra year to come in compliance compared to others. That's about all I have. Go, Paula.
I have a question. Going back to Bug Tussle. So I'm concerned that we had an agreement with them for X amount of towers, and now we're not going to have some of those towers?
No. So the towers, the agreement, the general practice of how many towers are going to stay the same. And Jeff will be able to talk about BEAD more, but like what they requested in the BEAD funding was to be qualified under the Wi-Fi accessible internet, meaning that tower location, they were originally say they were going to spend 100% of money on that. It was going to cost them $1 million a tower. What they were trying to do is BEAD to offset like 80-20. So then they wouldn't have to pay out of pocket that 800,000. They'd only pay 200,000. And then the BEAD funding would pay for it to help reduce the cost of the internet. I think we talked about there was requirements. If you accept the BEAD money, you can't charge more than X dollars for that. So they lost that 80-20 funding, but they were already prepared to pay $1 million, right? So they were just saying, oh, this is extra funding to reduce their costs, meaning they'd have more, either they could put more into the project, whether it be hard lines to each one rather than microwaves, or when BEAD would be, as they run their line, they would spider off to the houses, where right now they're just doing the middle mile. So that's what was lost, was the connectivity off of the middle mile, and then just the reducing of costs.
So I'm going to go back to our initial meetings with Bug Tussle and Mr. Olson, and the questions I kept asking him, because I have 4 districts one district that has 4 towns that are very low in connectivity. I drove to town of Knox last evening, and from my house all the way through Brantwood and onto there, I had no connectivity. My GPS wouldn't work. Not that I didn't know where I was going.
It's 2 different things,
But-
but yes.
But but still, are we going to lose? Are we going to gain anything? I mean, if it's going to cost them money?
No, the original plan was, I can't remember. I have the list of where the towers were going to be, but the original plan was there was 10 towers.
10 towers.
That's still going to be 10 towers. They're just not getting.
But are not going to be as efficient as they were
No,
going
it
to
doesn't
be?
change.
Or
It doesn't change. They were trying to access a grant. Like if
I understand
Yeah,
that.
yep,
I understand. I
yep.
just want to make
I
sure
don't
that
believe there's a change in the original project. The BEAD money would have offset some of their costs,
Sure.
or enhanced the project.
Sure.
Where they're not going to reduce it based on not getting.
okay.
Mr. Holstrand.
I'll interject, and this is only my opinion. Only my opinion in this. So
I have my opinion too.
based,
but-
based on their 10 locations, they were planning on gaining a bunch of customers with Wi-Fi, with their wireless product. When the BEAD came out now, however, and they were not successful in their BEAD asking to get money to serve these customers, another company won that area, which will be putting fiber to the home, which wireless cannot compete with fiber to the home. So I think Bug Tussle is going to prioritize their relationships with their wireless carriers, meaning cellular, which is the 2 different options here. I mean,
Right.
and where the cellular carriers want to be is where they are going to start with their tower projects.
And so let's get to the bottom dollar. Is this going to be more cost to each of, I'm going to say my constituents, because I'm here to speak for them, but for the rest of the county?
No,
So
'cause they would
again,
get
we're
access
talking
to-
about 2 different things. You're talking about cellular coverage. And you brought up the town of Knox, so I'll say it, the town of
Sure.
Knox, Charter went in and plowed fiber to everybody in there that wanted it. They have an option for their internet. Whether they choose to pay it or not
Right. Right.
isn't our issue.
Right.
It's provided to them. Now you're asking about cellular. When you're driving down the road, you're talking about cellular. That's different. That was, Bug Tussle made no promises to us about cellular coverage. They said they partner with carriers, and where there's weak spots, they will go on those towers.
Without a doubt, he was absolutely, that was his
Yeah.
sales pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
And I believe that's
Yeah.
still the case.
Paul, but I think what you're saying, like, so whoever got the BEAD and so these ones didn't get the BEAD for wireless, but someone got the BEAD, whether it's going to be to the home, that'll be a competitive option. If say Town of Knox got doubled up now, you'll have Charter and whoever won, but they'll have to, because they receive BEAD money, it'll be a reduced cost. So in the end, you should have an option through the BEAD program of affordable
Internet.
Yeah.
For internet.
For internet.
What does that do to the $15 million project cost? Does that change it?
No, because the original project did not include bead. The bead was an enhancer or an
Okay,
offset.
so that was not, so the 15 is still the 15.
Yep. Mr. Hastings.
Are we able to get some kind of a viable tentative start date?
I mean, we can invite him again and ask the same questions we asked him on the phone.
I asked at the conference too, and I didn't get
Yeah.
any satisfaction.
I don't want to hear them come here and talk to us again.
Yeah.
I
And I've
we have
voiced
this agreement.
that frustration because when we first sold it, was 6 months, we'll have this done. Then
Go
it
to
was
these
12
town
months.
meetings and you'll hear us frustration,
I know.
Nick. You will hear that. So
They're behind in Taylor and Marathon and they're finishing that. And
yeah.
so they are working. I mean, it's not like they're sitting somewhere not doing it. They took on a lot of counties at one time. Not our problem. That was their choice to do that. They over promised and they're delivering what they promised, just slowly.
Isn't it that brown?
Mr. Robert.
That was
So
one of
are
it.
we still by us, are they still going to start with the towers that we need for
Yep.
the,
Yeah, Jeff and I were on a call. So I am working with Northway to determine how many towers we want in that next 2 years, and they'll start. They said they'll start on those first, but we will have towers in locations we need. I have the locations, the general GPS. They're working with landowners within those, probably half mile by the Crow, so 1 mile circumference, or not radius, or half mile radius. So we know in general where we would be located as a communication tower.
Okay, any more updates, Mr. Minister? Okay, moving on. Committee chair reports. Mr. Warco, administration.
Yeah, we haven't met since the last board meeting, so I really don't have anything to report other than we do meet tomorrow. And we've got a number of issues on the board policy and procedure manual and on the employee procedure manual. And we've got the negotiations that starting with the deputies union.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Warco? Moving on. Executive, that'd be me. The last executive meeting, before the meeting, we held the redistricting committee meeting that per statute had to occur. And for the annexation, that committee recommended to forward what you saw today to the executive committee, and the executive committee forwarded it here. Heard the treasurer's report. It's noted that the online auction for the properties in REM is going on right now. I think it's still.
Not the 21st, but I can look while you're talking.
Anyway, Register of Deeds was not able to attend, but the administrator gave a report. Basically, the talk was about putting together an ordinance requiring parcel RD numbers for conveyance documents. Nick gave his report, which we heard today. There was an update given on Act 235 and 25, and that's regarding the privacy issues concerning personal information for public officials, like judges and election officials. And one other thing that was noted, the new sidewalk out here originally was projected to cost about 15,000, and it looks like it's going to come in at 11. So it's less than what was estimated, which is a good thing. Any questions?
The auction ends tomorrow.
Okay, we'll move on to the next. Forestry and Parks, Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Hallstrand.
Okay. So Josh just gave us some updates on one of them, the sidewalk, that it's complete. We haven't been billed yet. Thank you, Brian. And he did replace the pump in the basement, and insurance did cover that, so that was good. But we do have issues with another one of the pumps down there, so the saga continues. The heating system, that piping issue is all solved now, so that's taken care of. We were going to go out for bids on the electrical panel. They were still requesting information for the RFP on that. He's starting in with his fall PMs and getting ready for the snow to come. So that was kind of Josh's issue at the courthouse. Forestry and parks, I guess some of the highlights, we had Headwater Rivers Forest Project was here to give a presentation about a chunk of land that's up by Laterno Lake, 2,200 acres. It's part of a 26,000 acre parcel that they want to put into a conservatory program. And there's a lot to that. It really doesn't negatively affect us in any way I mean, they talked about how they will open roads up in there and make this land more publicly accessible. There was some discussion on defining what that public accessibility is. It four-wheelers? Is it e-bikes? Is it pickup trucks? How will it affect the snowmobile trails that run through there? Some of them questions weren't really definedly answered. We're
That's
waiting.
in negotiation,
Yeah,
basically.
it's
with
in
the DNR.
negotiation, kind of, that's part of their contract that they'll come forward with. This can happen with or without us. It's just informational for us, and they'd like our blessing to make it happen. This is not any new land that's being taken off the tax roll. It's what used to be, I call Owens in Illinois, then it was Plum Creek, then it was Northwoods. It's changed hands again now to, I keep wanting to say Fork 5, but it's Act 5 or something like that owns the land now. Another investment group owns it, and they're looking to, what happens when they put it in one of these conservatory programs, you can never develop it. It can never be developed. So I don't see it as a terrible thing, but anyway, so they presented to us, and they will come back if we ask them, if we have more questions that arise. But there's a website, some of the DNR, you can go and look and see what a conservatory project looks like at the DNR's website. So anyway, that was that.
Will that go to the full board?
Yes, it'll be a resolution. It'll come to the full board. Joe put in for a Big Falls toilet project, which is something that's been on our list for several years. There was money left over in one of the grant programs. He did submit a grant for a 50-50 match for pit toilets down at Big Falls Park.
He was awarded.
He was
awarded up to 85,000.
Yeah, so executive will be reviewing capital improvement potential funding.
Yeah. He also received a grant for gravel out on our blueberry block. So some of our forest that's out here to the east, $47,400 for gravel, which is a big deal for getting access into our sales. Solberg Lake Campground expansion project is going very well. If you haven't been out there, you should drive out there and look at it. We've even converted Jordan from wasn't really warm on the idea to saying it's really turned out nice. So I mean, I think it's going to be a great addition to our Price County camping. It's going to give another option to people. We did, with moving right into the next thing, is we talked about putting Wi-Fi out there and getting a quote, and we've got a quote to put Wi-Fi out there. One of the things are safety issues because the cell phones don't work very good there. The caretaker needs something with this online booking now. There's a lot of real good reasons, but we're looking to put Wi-Fi in the park out there, and we are increasing the rates. We voted to increase the rates, so
In the new park.
in the new
not
park,
old park.
yes, in the new park,
Clear.
yep, $45 a day for a single stay, $35 per day for a 1 month, and $30 per day for a 4-month stay. And we think that potentially we will get a lot of those 1 month and 4-month stays just because of what happens around the lake there. Lower Steve Creek, nothing new down there. And then we just kind of went into.
Is that engineering on Steve Creek? Is the engineering done?
We're still waiting on the Steve Creek. We're still waiting on the DNR permits to come back.
Waiting for a long time.
Oh, we wait for them. You know,
Yeah, that one should be bid this winter though. That
Right.
was the
We're
intent.
hoping to bid that one this fall. The other one that crept back into the picture now is
Cranberry.
Cranberry Creek flowage. that we've resubmitted there. And so there's a little bit of traction on that one. That's down by the shooting range. That one washed out 3-4 years ago when Jordan opened his gates.
I fear
So, but anyway, so that one, there was that one just kind of just sat there.
I fear
And-
that it's gonna get eaten up by inflation,
Wow.
the Steve Crick.
Well,
Engineers forget to take into account that there's water runoff, not just
Right,
water release. Just so.
Josh, a little
And
bit
it's
there.
been more than 3 or 4 years.
It's been a
Joe, it's
while.
probably been what, 8,
Moving right
9,
along.
honestly?
Yeah, moving along. Yeah. Anyway, so stumpage, as Nick pointed out, we're doing good on our stumpage this year. There's 4, 5, 6 sales going on right now. If the weather remains dry like this, I anticipate a really good fall going into winter because Price County is not noted for accessibility at this time of the year. So having 4 or 5 jobs going on right now is good. So that's really what I have.
Any question for Mr. Hallstrand?
Yes.
I can go back.
Just one question.
Go ahead.
What's the evaluation of the online reservation site? I mean, you were going to, was this your first year
So I
using
think
it?
we're gonna evaluate it once we close the campgrounds down, because we had a whole bunch of people reserved right off the bat in the year and they paid. So we were looking really good all year. And as we get closer and closer now down towards the end, the numbers are coming. I think we're profitable. Can we attribute it to the online reservation? I don't know, because Solberg is generally a profitable park.
The entire new expansion will be fully online and reservable.
Okay.
You know, moving forward. So that'll be that. But I've had some people when we only camped there a couple times this year, not as much as normal with having a baby. Things were different, but
Really?
I heard that it was a good thing, you know, but then you still seen the locals that were camped there anyway. And they're like, hey, it's great. We didn't have to pay for 3 extra days. So, you know, where in the past they would have put a chair out on Tuesday and then just showed up
Camp, right.
on Thursday or Friday to camp. Now we didn't get that money because they could go online and reserve it for Friday, Saturday, you know, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I think it's going to be kind of a wash when everything, like Jeff said,
Yeah.
filters out in the end. But there was some new people there, you know, when we camped and people that they said, oh, it was great to be able to see it online, and other people that were like, well, I hated it because, you know, we used to just drive up here on Sunday and pick whatever site we wanted, you know, and then you couldn't stay there because we could only stay there for a couple days because it was reserved. It wasn't reserved for a couple days, you know, Monday, Tuesday, but then come the weekend when they wanted to be there, it was taken because of the online reservation. So I think the crew did a great job putting a post by each site and marking it on a calendar to know. But it also made people have to move and whatnot.
Yeah. We're so, I think you're right, where it's like you didn't get that extra vacant day, but we saw an equal amount of total days used, meaning more people were there, which is better for people being here. One thing we did talk about with the 2 things actually. One is making sure we advertise the online reservation system more now that it's up, especially with the new half opening up. We're really going to work with the chamber and get the word out. And then 2, if we do end up with the Wi-Fi there, I think we're going to move closer to all online, because you can, right when you're there, rather than handling cash, you just use your device. There'll be a QR code on every post. You buzz it in and pay. And so it'll be convenient for the user. I know there'll be a lot of people, I don't like this, but it also takes away the ability for cash handling, which is always a concern, right? I don't have any concerns, but there's always the ability for concern there when there's a lot of handling of cash.
I know Joe's not here, but like I would love to see a breakdown at the end of the year, what sites were used. I think you're going to see an uptick in the sites that didn't get used. I know site 8 is a tiny little site, and it was used quite a bit this summer when we were there. You know, a few times we were there, like if we take a ride through there, and it was a small site, but it was a reservable site. So people would reserve it and show up and use it, you know, where that was, I believe that was one of the least used sites. So I'd be curious to see that number, what that changed with the reservation system.
Well, that's good. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Health and Human Services. Ms.
I
Hodek.
I get to talk again. I know. So this is Health and Human Services met on October 8th. Basically, it was a lot of all of the departments gave their quarterly report. In the public health unit, they put out a schedule of 15 sites that will be given their flu shots in all of October. And I mean, that's we're talking businesses, we're talking nutrition sites, we're talking schools within the whole county. So it's good to see these nurses that are doing this are very busy. They're doing not only what they have to do at the business, but they're going and giving these shots. So I'm real pleased to see that there are 15 sites that are being given that, and it does help businesses so their employees don't have to leave work for it or try to rush to get that. So pleased to see that. COVID vaccines, the Price County Health Department may now administer the COVID-19 vaccine to anyone 12 years and over who elects to do so, and with a clinical decision to do so as well. Nothing yet for those that are under 12. It would be 11 down. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see. So like I said, the quarterly reports. This is a good one. The crisis programs have to apply every 2 years, and they have on-site reviews. And so there were 10 cases chosen from the behavioral health unit, and this crew came in to look at, the surveyor came in to look at the documentation, the follow-through on these cases, and the quality with which they were assessed. And the surveyor found no discrepancies, no concerns, and expressed appreciation for good documentation and follow-through. So kudos to that department, good for the behavioral health unit. There will be a list of recommended members for the opioid ad hoc committee in the next couple of months coming up. And I do want to remind everyone that if you have a moment sometime today between noon and 6 o'clock, that the Price County Senior Living Expo is going to be going on. They're setting up right now if they're not already. This is offered by Aspirus Health, Price County Health, Public Health, and the ADRC. There are over 30 informational booths that were there. Live entertainment and informational speakers will be there. Delicious food will be there. And there's an attendance raffle. This is just to bring this all to everyone that's out there. So once again, it'd be nice if you have a minute, if you want to grab a lunch, if you want to do, or just pop in, that'd be nice to show your face there. So thank you very much. If there are any other questions, our next meeting is November 5th. Joe, did you have anything to add? Patty? Bob?
I have one question.
Yes.
WIC, has there been any updates as far as funding for that?
So far, there's been nothing as far as what they reported, that they haven't heard any.
Nothing new.
Nothing new.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Jason.
I mentioned last meeting on the full board about his House of Hope possibly getting some funding. Where do we start? Everybody. I mentioned last meeting about his House of Hope possibly getting some funding, the men's addiction center south of town over there. And
Possibly, you probably could just maybe call Sarah Soha and see if
So-
she has any idea.
Are you looking for the county to,
For the county? For the,
Oh.
from
Oh,
the
it doesn't be
opioid money.
opioid.
Okay, sorry. I didn't
So
follow
any
through
of
on
those,
that.
it would be a service provider because we can't do a donation. That's not how they work. So what you would do is work with Health and Human Services, whatever, like probably AODA, because you said it was an addiction recovery center. So it would be providing a service, and then if that service was provided, that's how the funding would get transferred. So it'd be working with Health and Human Services
Mhm.
for that.
so Sarah.
Yep, I would start with Sarah.
That'd be the first person I
Okay.
would go.
But couldn't that fall into the like nonprofit community partners kind of thing?
No, so there was can't remember, and I'm looking at Attorney General's opinion. I knew if I looked at the lawyer's seat. Attorney General's opinion that under state statute, you can't do donations. It has to be for services provided. And this came out of food pantries. So some communities were giving like $10,000 to the food pantry, but that's not a specific service that you anyways, the Attorney General's opinion says, no, you can't give general donations. You can work with those providers to provide a service. So like we work with, what was the one down at the Red House? Embrace. And so Embrace provides counseling and a bed for certain amounts of time. And then if they use that bed or that counseling service, then we pay for that service. So that's how that works.
So in order to get any money, they'd have to become a partner with the county.
Yeah.
That's what it
a
is.
service provider.
It sounds like they are a service provider, a little bit I know
Yeah,
about.
but it has to be for like, we sent a client there, not you come to us and say, we have a client. It would be like they came to AODA for recovery services. This fit the service that's needed. We would then send them to the House of Hope, and then we would have some type of service agreement in place.
Okay.
There's nothing else for Health and Human Services? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Highway and Transportation, Mr. Polachek.
The highway crew has been crack filling all county and state bridge approaches before winter. They have also been boom mowing County Trunk N and I, been turning shoulders on all state highways. Has been shouldering on County M, C, D, and RR. They are currently working on changing large culverts for the town of Prentice and the town of Elk as part of the Bridge and Culvert Aid. 2025 capital improvement paving projects were completed on October 9th by American Asphalt. Ditching and culverts are now complete on County Trunk D in preparation for the 2026 capital improvement project from State Highway 13 to Shawamigan Drive. Shop is working on converting state trucks for winter readiness. RFPs are out for truck chassis and plow packages for 2 more trucks. RFPs are also out for county and town blade orders. Overhead door for the rock building will be installed at the end of the month. Seasonal equipment is being maintained and prepped for storage for the winter. The build of the next 2 county plow trucks started the first week of October. Airport has been working on regular summer maintenance, grass mowing, as well as fixing lights and filling holes around and by the fences. All dams are in good overall condition. There were many improvements that have been made this year. There were some upkeep to the easement on the north access to Jobs, including brushing and spreading gravel. There was also some large riprap that was replaced at Weimer's Dam. A new staff gate was installed on Prentice Dam. Winter drawdown has now been completed by October 1st, which was the date required by the DNR to ensure survival of hibernating reptiles and amphibians. Our next meeting is our fall road tour, October 28th at 7 a.m. at the Highway Shop office. Are there any questions? What? All are welcome to join.
Did they RSVP?
It'll be well worth the price of admission.
She did.
I just have one comment. There's a broken light on the departure end of runway 19. Just so you could tell Mike.
What?
Never mind. Next up, land use and UW extension, Mr. Barstrom.
We held our meeting on September 18th. Land use, we held 3 public hearings. Two hearings were for renting homes on a short-term basis. Both were approved. One hearing for a special exceptions permit. The building is building a garage 40 feet to the center line of South Sioux Lake Road. No letters of communication in opposition were received, so the exception permit was granted. 4 applications for land division were reviewed. All were in compliance and were approved. We reviewed a request for a refund of application fees for permits. The applicant no longer needed the permits due to no fault of his own. The refund was granted. That's land use. Land conservation. We approved DNR deer donation agreement. The DNR will seek out processors to facilitate the donation of venison to local food banks. We reviewed and approved the Price County budget for wildlife damage. The program is funded by the USDA and administered by the Wisconsin DNR. Then we held a lengthy discussion was held on a situation concerning wildlife damage claim. The DNR is requesting that a participant, a local farmer, be removed from the program for a 2-year period. The DNR alleges that said participant incorrectly logged or recorded permits. There was a motion to postpone a decision, and that motion to postpone was approved. The situation is on the agenda for the next meeting of Land Conservation, which is October 23rd. It was reported that the annual clean sweep held at the Armory had a good turnout. That ends land use and land conservation. Any questions?
Alan, did we ever get anything back from the DNR for the paperwork that we asked for?
No.
And by we, I
haven't
mean mostly
received
me.
it. I haven't received it.
Because, okay. And then on top of that too, I just, in full transparency, I know our committee has talked about the SNAP and SNAP Ed, like the educator. So going back to your AI bot, is there a chance to work with her on that before she leaves?
What would we be?
I don't know. She's got a lot of knowledge and you're letting her walk out the door.
We're not. Let's be
Okay.
clear.
Okay, but we are. What are we doing to try to
This-
fix it?
Right. So the federal funding went away. State funding does not get that anymore. So 92 individuals through UW Extension, the programming, the educational programming are being laid off. We don't have a say as a county. That was always a federal employee. We just house them. You can come up with funding. There'll be no program backing because the program's done. So they would have no guidance. They'd have nobody to work under. That's where it's tough. I get it. It's 92 employees throughout the state.
Yeah, that is tough.
I'll continue on with UW Extension. The reality fair is scheduled for November 13th. And here's the Food Wise educator. Well, that's Wendy. Will work through December of 2025 and then be furloughed, causes lack of federal funding. And we received a draft copy of the UW Extension contract. And as of now, we have one person half-time as a UW Extension educator, which is the 4-H program half-time. That's so we only got half an employee. That's it.
And we have a half-time county employee that assists them. So we have an administrative assistant for that department.
Okay.
Any questions, further questions for Mr. Barkstrom? Thank you, sir. Last but not least, law enforcement, Mr. Polchek.
Thank you for that introduction. We had a discussion on intersection update out at 13 and 111. Both the sheriff and highway departments are doing whatever is possible to increase safety at this dangerous intersection. Town of Wooster is looking at the topic as well. There was discussion about adding rumble strips, flashing lights, and a flashing stop sign, and possible redesign of the intersection. It has been flagged as one of Wisconsin's intersections with a high chance of accidents based on history. So it's on our agenda for our road tour. We couldn't meet with the highway commissioner because he was up in Canada and he tried calling in and he wasn't able to call in. So we'll be discussing that before our road tour to see what we can possibly do out there immediately. If we go through the state, it's going to take years to get anything done out there. The district attorney, special prosecutor John Lechner has been the interim in the district attorney's office. He's here between 3 and 4 days a week. There has been no new news on a DA appointment from the state. Currently, no vacancies in the clerk of circuit court office. Sheriff's Office staffing update. There was one deputy resignation. There will be an opening next month. The department is anticipating being short 3 deputies and will advertise filling these positions when they become available. Humane officer, from January 1st through October 9th, there have been 346 animal control law incidents, which is 15% of all the incidents. K-9 units, Officer Joe Janik took K-9 Dixon on vacation. Officer Calzavera and K-9 Kane are covering the department and doing fine. Recreation was reimbursed for all terrain vehicles and snowmobiling patrol, and the rec officer has been presently patrolling the lakes and trails whenever possible. He's also filling in as needed on road patrol. Our next meeting date is December 4th. Are there any questions?
I got one day.
Go ahead, Jason.
Ladies
Go first.
Ladies first, Mr. Droppick.
No, I was fine waiting. So anything that we do to 111 and 13, being those are state highways, is there a chance for reimbursement? Obviously, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do something there, just that if they're their roads, I mean, technically, right? Are they going to reimburse
Right,
whatever
so-
our cost is?
Working with the sheriff and Roger right now, there's a lot of suggestions we've made to the state that we would like to do. We are not allowed to do anything in the states right away. So if we want to put up a sign, they're going to take it. They're going to say, take it down. You're not going to get reimbursement. So we need to work with the state to remind them to do something with this. We're pushing to get something done, but we did put additional signs up on Little Chicago?
Little Chicago.
The Wooster Road is, in my head it was Wooster.
No.
So once you leave the right of way of the state, you can put additional signs. So stop ahead, whatever you want to do, flashing. But to actually do anything with signage in that right of way is very cumbersome. So we're working with, I think it's Rylander, the DOT right now to do what we can. But they would reimburse you if it's approved, but they're not, you can't just go and do stuff in there right away.
Mr. Hastings.
Larry, the question arose a handful of times about the inmate photos and they're still not up. Can we get a reasoning for that for the next meeting?
About inmate photos?
Yeah, online.
It just has to do with the website. It doesn't allow that circulation. So whenever the update, so I think we updated it and now you can, the photos are on there. It's just in a PDF or they're up there. The original way you got them where it was like it rotated through is no longer there, but I think weekly they update a list. So I believe there's photos on there again. I can double check again, but I thought somebody was working on that. Jules. Oh, I was just told they're not up there. They were up there for a little bit because it was Jesse was working on that up in the jail. So it has to do with the way the website works. It has nothing to do with us or a decision.
Are we capable of rectifying that?
We've been working on it for a year with the website to try to do that. So we're working on it.
Anyone else for law enforcement for Mr. Palchik? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, sir.
More than welcome.
That concludes our agenda. We'll convene out of committee of the whole. Date of the next meeting is November 12th, 2025, 9:00 in the boardroom here. And if there's no other comments, concerns,
And just a reminder, that's a Wednesday for everybody. So it's not the normal Tuesday. Veterans Day is on Tuesday. So it was put on Wednesday.
okay. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.